This is where the investment of $1 trillion should return $700 billion to bondholders each year. Unfortunately, there are certain facts in our economic system that block this sort of transition. 15% of American workers are self-employed. That means 85% work for others. The normal scientific growth allows for more automation, replacing American employees with cheaper labor or mechanization. The trend in higher profits then leads to an increasing scrap heap of American labor. The overall trend is to approach feudalism with a slave master conclusion, which fosters violent revolution. The John G. Roberts Supreme Court 5-4 ruling by right-wing justices basically gave total control of elections in America to corporations through their unlimited funding rights of candidates who will do their bidding. This allows corporations to select only candidates who will do their bidding to be supported in the media, where voters are left no alternative but to select from the ones wealthy enough to get all the airtime they need to discolor their opponents. It doesn't matter their party, both parties are funded heavily to ensure corporate victory with their agenda, to turn on the federal money pipe. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. bore witness to the disparity in income and wealth by race 49 years ago in August of 1963 in his famous speech in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. The same is true today. Racism was an issue in the Kennedy assassination and probably enticed some of the Dallas police to participate. The FBI and Secret Service also diverted the first black agent, Abraham Bolden, away from Washington and railroaded him off to prison to stop him from testifying about the setup on Kennedy that he became aware of. Also, studies have shown a correlation between family income and child student performance, so African Americans will have equal opportunity in education when they have equal income. I support their financial assimilation as part of equal rights. No wonder oil harvesting and marketing and control worldwide was at the birth of U.S. foreign policy in the late 19th century and remains there today, the focal point of our international foreign policy. Oil companies have stifled competition over the years by buying up patents that would make internal combustion engines twice as efficient and make plug-in hybrid electric vehicles with much better performance than the Chevy Volt, and do it 20 years ago. This is because they decided instead to milk every nickel they could get out of oil production business before they replace it with their solar products. Undoubtedly, they use the threat of reducing or partially shutting down oil production to blackmail governments into letting them play this maximize profit game and to protect them from opponents to their usury. Banks are equally big and equally dangerous to world peace. Their control of government to be able to create and carry out a real estate banking scam that makes them look like victims, and getting a $700 billion bailout with no stipulations while continuing to collect inflated mortgage payments from homeowners and arranging for insurance companies to collapse and shield them from liability when the market collapses. Their push and complicity is witnessed by the bundling of bad notes on the properties in foreclosure to begin with, and to allow runaway appraisals on property. So they score on the sale of bad paper to the stock market that can't be unbundled, while collecting loan payments until default and then foreclosing to get the properties back, and while being paid half the total money of all bad paper loans to cover their losses in property values. What a scam! a sure deal con job with Black Cloud leader George W. Bush in the White House. The privately owned International Bank is one of Black Cloud's innovations to participate in loans to the world's nations for the crooked infrastructure sale deals. The Fed is the other part of the private banking industry representing the U.S., but with money printing capability. The Treasurer stamps out U.S. coins at their mints. John Kennedy wanted private banks out of the U.S. paper money business, another reason for his demise at the shared hands of big banking. Sitting at the top, middle of this oil banking intelligence political conspiracy is the oil banking intelligence political family, the Bush family, the center point of planning, coordination, and operations for world control of Black Cloud. After setting up, coordinating, and achieving the JFK coup, G.H.W. Bush and his business cronies got Johnson, a puppet of Big Oil, to take over the government. This was passed on to Nixon, a Bush-developed political asset with direct ties to the street gang in Dallas in 1963, to extend the war in Vietnam for oil, banking, and defense contractor profits at the expense of our citizens. Nixon, of course, escaped just in time to be pardoned by an important JFK assassination cover-up figure, his friend Gerald Ford, who became the next puppet. Gerald appointed G.H.W. Bush to head the CIA. Jimmy Carter's early start and strong finish against our only unelected president gave the nation a short reprieve while Black Cloud sought and found a personable substitute, Ronald Reagan, who, after almost being assassinated 64 days after swearing in, was more complicit with the Bush economic plan of making the rich richer while kickstarting the debt demise of the U.S. by doubling the U.S. debt. Hinckley's brother Scott was scheduled to dine at Neil Bush's house the day after his brother shot Reagan.